The FiFine Tank3 is a dynamic USB XLR microphone, and as of recent years, there have been a lot of entries into this market. For instance, the PodMic USB, the Shure MV7, even the FiFine K688, as well as a recent review I just did, the CAD E90 and the Maono PD200X. There are a lot of options out there, but one thing that FiFine is really good at is giving you good quality at a good price. And speaking of price, the Tank3 originally came in around $100, however, I see it going for $89.99 everywhere now. And at $90, this is very competitive with those other microphones. Today we are going to focus on the FiFine Tank3, see if FiFine can deliver yet again on a good sounding microphone for a good price. But I will also compare this microphone to all of the microphones that I mentioned earlier. One other microphone I will compare the Tank3 to is the FiFine K669D. This microphone is priced at $40 and it is XLR exclusive. So now we are just battling out some FiFine siblings, the K669D versus the Tank3. So I will put up on the screen what microphone you are hearing at any given time. Currently, I am using an SC1 for the Tank3 in the XLR port, as well as recording it through the USB jack, and also an additional FiFine SC1 for the K669D. The FiFine SC1 is an audio interface that goes anywhere from $45 to $55. But that is one very big note. One thing that I do get asked quite a bit about is, can a microphone record USB and XLR at the same time? And this Tank3 can do that. Not all XLR USB microphones are capable of that. For instance, the PodMic USB can't do that. But let's put our focus back on the FiFine Tank3, and actually the full name is the FiFine Amplitank Tank3, which means that if I pronounced FiFine's name the way that they wanted me to, Fine, this microphone would be the FiFine Amplitank Tank3. But if you decide to purchase the Tank3 at its $90 price tag, you will get a USB-C to USB-A cable. This cable is 8.2 feet long. The Tank3 does not come with a stand adapter because it does not need one. On the bottom of the yoke mount, there is a 5/8 inch threading, and a little bit beyond that, there is a 3/8 inch threading. You will get some documentation and just the microphone itself. There isn't a lot to this. It doesn't come with a windscreen. It doesn't come with an XLR cable. But what it does come with is a microphone that is built so well. And actually, I usually try to steer clear of this saying, but since tank is in the name twice, technically, I know why they did that, because this thing is built like that. It is built like a tank. I think it's a really cool looking microphone. That matte black is really awesome, and I really do like the half yoke mount. If you're looking at the front of the Tank3, on the right side you will see two dials. The first one is the microphone gain, and the next one is the headphone volume control. On the back of this microphone is where you will find your USB-C connection, your XLR jack, as well as a 3.5mm headphone jack. And that headphone jack does supply latency-free monitoring. On the top of the microphone, you will see an LED mute button. When the microphone is unmuted, it is green, and it is red when it is muted. Now, when it comes to the features on this microphone, it's everything you want. It has the headphone volume control, the gain dial, which is great, and also the mute button is really cool. I like that the whole button is lit up. It's nice. The one thing that does seem to be missing is that this microphone does not have onboard DSP. But this $90 microphone not having DSP, I don't think is like a deal breaker or anything. It'd be cool if they could make it work and have it be awesome, but I don't expect it at this price point. The Tank3 does in fact max out at 16-bit, 48 kilohertz, which is also the case for the FiFine SC1 interface that I'm using with the K669D right now. However, these are budget options, and 16-bit in a lot of situations is completely fine. But as mentioned before, this is a dynamic microphone, and it does have a cardioid puller pattern. Very simply, that means that this microphone is most sensitive in the front and least sensitive directly behind the mic. Well, now that we've gone through a lot of the information about the Tank3, now I'm going to focus on some tests for this microphone, and we'll unplug the K669D. Now, we'll kick this off with a distance and proximity effect test, but I just wanted to tell you, in FiFine's notes, it says to be about 2 to 6 inches away from this microphone. And during this whole first section, I've been about 4 inches away from the Tank3. Right now I am 2 feet away from the Tank 3, definitely not an ideal situation. Now I'm exactly 1 foot away from the Tank 3. Now I'm 6 inches away from this microphone, which is the furthest FiFine recommends being away from it. Now I'm 4 inches away. Now I'm 2 inches away, and this is the closest you should be to it. Let's break some rules though. Now I'm 1 inch away. Here we go. Now I'm just right on top of the microphone. Here's how that sounds. Now, a vast majority of microphones like this do come with a windscreen, but in this plosive test, I obviously am not going to use one since this doesn't come with one. Let's give it a shot. This is 6 inches away from the microphone. Peter Parker, Peter Pan, Picasso, Planters Pickled Peanutses. Now, ideally, you're not going to be popping peas directly into the microphone. You want to angle yourself a little bit, or angle the microphone, so your air can go past it a little bit. Now, if we do that, Peter Parker, Peter Pan, Picasso, Planters Pickled Peanutses. Now, if you're going to be banging on a really loud keyboard with MX Cherry Blues, just gaming your little ass off, here's how it's going to reject that sound when the keyboard is directly behind the microphone. Now, if I talk directly into the front of the microphone and slowly start turning it, here's how it's going to sound at 90 degrees off axis. And now here's how it's going to sound at 180 degrees off axis. And now the other side, here's 90 degrees on the other side. And now we are back at the front of the microphone. Now I'm going to very aggressively press the mute button, and just so you know, the mute button only mutes the USB connection, not the XLR connection. So does the mute button cause an audible click? Let's see. Now the microphone is unmuted, and I notice with this microphone, if you get a little gentle with it and you just squeeze it rather than click it, it can give you a little bit better result with the clickiness of the mute button. Let's try that. Gentle, ever so gentle mute, ever so gentle. So gentle. There we go. Now we're unmuted ever so gently. I did that. It was better, right? But I think during a live stream, you're just trying to mute it as fast as possible, so you're like, and it's going to sound bad. Now, I've been showing this throughout the review, but just to emphasize this test, here is the sound of this microphone in USB mode, and now here is XLR mode, and we'll just switch back and forth between USB and XLR mode, see if there's any differences in sound quality or anything like that. Like I said earlier, the SC1 is also capped at 16-bit 48 kilohertz, so there is no higher quality through one of these recordings. Now, if I wanted to put just some very simple post-processing on this, just a high-pass filter, probably around like 60 to 70 hertz, as well as a compressor, maybe a limiter, I'll label whatever I use up on the screen. Here's how this sounds in that kind of a situation. Now, with this post-processing test, obviously there is no DSP on here, so these are actually just plugins on my computer. Now for the most important test of all. It's not even close, honestly. The PURR test. What do you think of it? You like it? You like it? Oh, you do! In case you haven't met her, this is Penny. She is one of our new kittens. Now, one thing I couldn't find in the documentation, but maybe I just missed it, I'm not sure. I don't think it says it's compatible with phones. However, Bark from Obscure Mics tried it on his Android and said it worked. And I plugged it into my iPhone 15 Pro and it did work. I'll show you a quick example of that. Right now I have the FiFine Tank3 plugged into my iPhone 15 Pro through the USB-C connection. And I have this recording in the iRig Recorder app. So this actually does seem to be working pretty well. And I will say I was watching a YouTube video right before I started recording this just to check the volume of the headphone jack on this, and it was actually pretty solid. It was all maxed out, and it was getting to the point where I was like, yeah, it's a little too loud, so that's pretty damn good, actually, because there are a lot of headphone amps out there in USB microphones that just aren't that great. But now we're back on my MacBook Pro, and we'll compare the sound and see if it worked. Right now I'm in a completely untreated room, however there are some things on the walls, some bookshelves that could help with the reflections a little bit, but this room in particular has kind of a nasty little fast reverb sound to it that's not great. But here's how this dynamic cardioid microphone rejects an untreated room like this. I mean, I guess I don't know for sure what the standard bedroom size is, but this feels like that. It feels like a standard bedroom size. So if you're recording in kind of a standard-sized, untreated room, this is what you can expect from the Tank 3. Now on the opposite side of that, if you're going to record in a very large, untreated room, here's how that sounds. And in a situation like this, if you're really close to the microphone and the focus is on your voice, you should be able to get away with it and it shouldn't sound too bad. But even if I go back 1 foot from the microphone, you can tell it introduces that room sound a lot more. Now let's go ahead and see if we can get some sick tonage on our guitar and record it with this. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into a quick head-to-head comparison with a bunch of USB XLR microphones versus the Tank 3. To kick off this first comparison, we have the Røde PodMic USB going up against the Tank 3, obviously. As of this recording, the PodMic USB is $200, and I'm only recording it through USB right now because you actually cannot record USB and XLR simultaneously with the PodMic USB, which is something you can do with the Tank 3 that is $110 less. But one thing the PodMic USB does have over the Tank 3 is onboard DSP. So I just enabled onboard DSP for the Røde PodMic. The Tank 3 doesn't have anything like that. It doesn't come with any software. The PodMic USB comes with different softwares where you can go in and enable onboard DSP and change the settings. The onboard DSP includes a compressor, noise gate, high pass filter, as well as an oral exciter and big bottom. And if those last two things sounded super weird to you, it's just a way that you can boost the low end of the microphone as well as the high end of the microphone. But now I'm also putting the Tank 3 in XLR mode up against the PodMic USB in USB mode. That sounded really redundant, but right now I have the DSP turned off. Here's a quick test. This is with the PodMic USB in XLR mode, going against the Tank 3 in XLR mode. Now I have the Shure MV7 plugged in, recording through USB and XLR, versus the Tank 3 from FiFine, also recording through USB and XLR. Now, one thing about the Shure MV7 is that the XLR sound isn't very good. The USB sound is definitely superior. I think that's one of the reasons they did come out with the MV7X. But the Shure MV7 usually comes in at about $249. Sometimes it can go on sale for like $229, but it is quite a bit more expensive than the Tank 3. But with the MV7, you do also get that onboard DSP. For instance, I just enabled the limiter, compressor, and a presence boost on the MV7. And onboard DSP only applies to the USB connection. It does not work through XLR on any of these microphones. But if you want more of that processed sound, getting something like the MV7 or the PodMic USB can be a good call. Now I have the very massive Samson Q9U plugged in, going against the FiFine Tank3. Both of them are plugged in through XLR and USB. When it comes to the price of the Q9U, it can fluctuate a lot. A lot of the time, it can go for $200, but I get comments all the time of people saying they got it on sale for $80 to $100. And I feel like another common price is $149. So best case scenario, similar price to the Tank 3. Worst case scenario, more than double the price. But one of the ways that a lot of people like the sound of the Q9U is when the mid-boost mode is on, and that's what I've been using this whole time. Now the microphone is completely flat, there is no high-pass filter or mid-boost on, but one advantage the Q9U does have is it can record up to 24-bit at 96 kilohertz. Whereas, once again, the Tank 3 is capped at 16-bit, 48 kilohertz. But it seems like if the Q9U is a microphone you are going to go for, wait till it's on sale. It happens quite frequently, and the prices drop quite a bit. Now we have a comparison that I think a lot of people are very interested in. We have the FiFine K688 versus the FiFine Tank 3. And one of the biggest differences between these two microphones is about $10 to $20. These microphones are very similar. Obviously, they look different. Both of them are capped at 16-bit, 48 kilohertz, and they are both USB and XLR. Now, when it comes to the design and functionality and everything, I do think the Tank 3 is a clear winner. But as of recording this, the K688 usually goes for about $70 to $80, usually like $72-ish. The FiFine microphones, when you plug them in, the sound device it shows up as is labeled FiFine microphone. It doesn't say a model number or anything. And for a person that records multiple USB microphones to one computer using either Audio Hijack or Hindenburg, that was a bit of a challenge for me. It freaked my system out a lot. So I'm actually using a second computer to record the K688 right now. So here's how both of these sound up against each other. So right now this is the CAD E90 versus the Tank 3. The CAD E90 is currently, as of this recording, it might go back up again, but it's currently $60 online. Crazy. But I couldn't find the stand yoke mount adapter thing, so I just put a box on my desk and tried finding the right size so it'd be up to my mouth, like the Tank 3. Now, I do have a full review of the E90 up on my channel. I'm going to spoil part of it right now. But what I found with this particular microphone that I received is I got a lot of interference when I was trying to use it in XLR and USB mode simultaneously. Personally, I feel like the E90 is a fantastic XLR microphone, but I don't think it's a great USB microphone. So right now I am using it as an XLR microphone against the Tank 3, and now I'm going to plug it in as a USB microphone. Now I have the CAD E90 running as a USB microphone versus the Tank 3, and one thing I really loved about the CAD E90 was not only the sound in XLR mode, but also the mute button worked in both USB and XLR mode. That never happened, so that was really cool. Now we have the Maono PD200X, so it is about $20 cheaper than the Tank 3. However, I will say that the PD200X doesn't have as good a build quality as the Tank 3, but one thing it does have is 24-bit, whereas the Tank 3 is capped at 16-bit. I was really surprised by FiFine's decision not to go to 24-bit, but once again, it's fine. It's not the biggest deal. One other thing you can give credit to the PD200X over the Tank 3 is that it does have onboard DSP, but I say that with an asterisk. There are a couple EQ changes that you can make, like for instance this presence boost that I just enabled, but I really don't think anyone needs an additional presence boost with this microphone. It does also have a limiter in the Maono Link software that you can use. I wouldn't push it too hard though, and also it does have a compressor in that software. I would recommend staying away from it until they update it and make it sound a little bit better. But another thing the PD200X does have is RGB. Some people call it RGB, but that's so incorrect. It's not even funny. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it does have RGB. Personally, I don't give a shit about it, but it's there. Now when it comes to my review of the FiFine Amplitank Tank 3, it's going to seem like a little bit of a cop-out. I think the sound of this microphone is really solid at a very reasonable price. Is this microphone for everyone? No, it's not. It's for people that are doing this. If you are doing a podcast, or you're a gamer, or you're a YouTuber that wants a microphone in their face, in their frame, this is a good option. You're not buying this microphone for music, and you're not even buying this microphone for the best sound. You're buying this microphone because it sounds good, and it's affordable. The reason that I say this review section is a little bit of a cop-out is because bottom line, if this has the features that you want and it sounds the way you want, then cool. I can recommend it. Sorry, my cat wants my attention. She's whining at my legs. I just gotta hold her. She's really needy right now. If you want onboard DSP and you want that processed sound out of the microphone, this isn't your mic. And I would also say the Maono PD200X is also not your mic. You're going to need to look more at the Shure MV7 or PodMic USB. Those microphones have the actual onboard DSP that is really solid, actually. It might be a little ridiculous to ask for onboard DSP and 24-bit 96 kilohertz from a microphone that is only $90. However, I do think that 24-bit should have been doable. I think that should have been included. I can excuse the onboard DSP though. In an instance where the onboard DSP and the software associated with it, kind of like the Maono, isn't great anyway, it's not really adding much to the value of the microphone. Yes, this is how she tries to lay on me all the time. I don't understand it. One pretty positive thing about this microphone is that the plosive rejection is very good. There are a lot of microphones out there that are substantially worse, and I wasn't even using a windscreen because it wasn't included. But honestly, as long as you just angle the microphone a little bit, you should be good. Just don't be blowing any peanuts into the microphone, you know? And overall, I feel like FiFine did a really good job yet again. A couple things that I do want to note really quick is the headphone amp in the Tank 3 is actually pretty acceptable. It gets to a loud enough volume. I wouldn't say it's like blowing your mind when it comes to volume or anything, but it is absolutely usable for your average headphones. If you have headphones that need to be driven a lot, like some HD 650s from Sennheiser, maybe it's not going to be great for that, but it's better than a lot of USB microphone headphone jacks, I will say. We're getting to a point where there are a lot of very inexpensive audio interfaces that are actually pretty damn usable. One of them being the FiFine SC1. The FiFine mixed with the K669D and K669C from FiFine is a great little package. That interface is only 16-bit, but right around the same price as the CAD CX1. That interface can actually do 24-bit, and it's a very reasonable price. And I'm not saying don't buy a microphone like this. I think this microphone is very good for a lot of people. I'm just saying, if you want to continuously upgrade your audio, maybe consider an interface XLR microphone combo rather than a USB XLR mic or just a USB mic. But if you just want everything in one single package, just neat and tidy, I get it. I totally understand getting a microphone like this, and this is a good choice of a microphone if you are looking for that. Now to get back to the Tank 3 from FiFine, I'm going to give this a BB-SAR rating of an 8.5. Once again, FiFine did a fine job coming out with a fine-ass microphone. I really do like the look of it though, for real. I'm a little curious what the K688 future holds, but I would assume they're just going to sell both of them. But when it comes to build quality and usability, and not to mention plosives, this thing is solid. A big thank you to FiFine for sending this over so I can give it an honest review. An even bigger thank you to everyone that's watching and everyone that subscribes, and the biggest thank you to all of the lovely, lovely members of the audio hotline. I hope this review of the FiFine Tank 3 helped you out and helped you decide if you want to get one of these, but most of all, hope you had fun. I'll see you audio nerds next time.